Hi, my name is Jack, and my life has always been quite calm and predictable. Work, home, family. I never looked for trouble, preferring the measured flow of everyday life. But one day, everything changed because of one night with the guys and a stupid game of poker. We got together to relax and play, as we had done many times before. The beer was flowing, the jokes were getting riskier, and the stakes in the game were getting higher. Who would have thought that this time things would go so far? When an impressive sum was already at stake, the winner of the round suddenly proposed an insane task instead of a cash prize, like, let's have the loser seduce someone of the winner's choice. We all laughed, taking it as a funny joke, but he was serious. Imagine my surprise when this lucky ticket fell to me. I giggled nervously, expecting to hear the name of some waitress or the boss's new secretary. But when the winner grinned and said Susan, I nearly choked on my beer. Susan, by the way, was my mother-in-law, the mother of my wife Kate, a woman of strict rules and rather conservative views. And age-wise, she could have been, if not my mother, then definitely my older sister. "Are you kidding? It's Susan!" I exclaimed, stunned by this turn of events. "Come on, Jack, show what you're capable of." The winner smirked, patting me on the back. "Weak!" The guys started taunting and laughing like our Casanova doesn't have the guts. My bruised ego flared up and I blurted out, "Okay, damn you! Count this as the first step." I didn't even know what made me agree to this adventure, but there was no turning back. Either I seduce Susan or I become a laughingstock for the whole company. There was no third option. To be honest, I thought that at this stage I would already hit a wall. Susan had always been a strict and unapproachable woman to me, a real ice queen. In all the years of my marriage to Kate, I don't remember my mother-in-law ever looking at me in any way other than with a slight squint and pursed lips. But there was nothing to be done. The day after the ill-fated game, I decided that I would try to complete the task. As they say, the eyes are afraid, but the hands are doing, and I decided to start small. First of all, I showed up at Susan's house with a huge bouquet of roses and her favorite coffee. She raised an eyebrow in surprise, but accepted the flowers and even seemed to smile slightly. "Aha, the ice is broken," flashed through my mind. Then I started calling her more often, just to see how she was doing. I was interested in her life, told some funny stories. Susan responded more and more willingly and verbosely. Gradually, our conversations turned from formal to almost friendly. Soon I began to visit her more and more often, either to nail a shelf that supposedly no one had time for, or to watch an old movie together over a bottle of wine. I was surprised at my own persistence and ingenuity. And you know what? It turned out that Susan was not such an ice queen after all. She has a great sense of humor, reads a lot, and has her own views on things. Sometimes we would chat for hours about everything under the sun, forgetting about time. "Jack, you're so sweet today. Thank you for helping with the shopping," Susan said warmly, smiling at me as we said goodbye. "You're welcome, Susan. I enjoy spending time with you," I replied sincerely, and I wasn't lying. With each meeting, I realized more and more clearly that I was beginning to feel something more than just sympathy for this woman. And it wasn't about the stupid bet at all. With each passing day, my bond with Susan grew stronger. Now I was looking for reasons to see her, to hear her voice, to breathe in the delicate scent of her perfume. Kate even started joking that her mother would steal her husband. We communicated so often. I laughed it off, but inside everything froze at those words. What if Susan really reciprocated? What if something more than friendship sparked between us? The very thought made me hot and cold. One evening, we were sitting at her house as usual, drinking wine and discussing old times. Susan was talking about her turbulent youth, about unfulfilled dreams and disappointments. There was a slight sadness in her eyes. "Susan, you're an amazing woman. So wise, passionate, beautiful. If I were older, I would definitely fall in love with you," I joked, pouring us more wine. And then she suddenly looked at me with a long, piercing gaze. There was something new in it that I hadn't noticed before, either a challenge or a promise. "And who said you have to be older?" she said quietly, leaning slightly towards me. Her closeness, the huskiness in her voice, made my head spin. My heart pounded like crazy. My throat went dry. Could it be that Susan really... "Jack, I never thought we would become so close," she continued, not taking her eyes off me. But now it seems to me that I have finally met a kindred spirit. I didn't expect the bet to go this far either, I exhaled, fighting the urge to press against her lips. Susan frowned slightly and looked away. She seemed to be thinking hard about something, weighing all the pros and cons. Wait, so that's what this is about? All this time you've been getting close to me because of some stupid bet? Her voice sounded bitter and disappointed, as if I had just shattered her rosy dreams. Hearing those words, I felt like the last scoundrel. How could I have led her on for so long, pretending to be a caring friend when all I really wanted was to get her into bed, and all for the sake of an idiotic bet? "Susan, I'm sorry," I blurted out, grabbing her hands in mine. "Yes, at first it was just a bet. The guys egged me on and I fell for it like a fool. But then everything changed. I began to see you as an amazing woman that I want to get to know more and more. Damn, I think I'm really falling in love with you." My voice faltered on the last words. I froze, afraid to look up at Susan. Now she's probably going to throw me out the door, and she'll be right. But instead of an angry rebuke, I suddenly heard a soft sigh, and then I felt Susan gently squeeze my fingers. "What a fool you are, Jack," she whispered tenderly. "Do you think I didn't notice all your special operation to seduce me? Do you really think I'm that naive?" My jaw dropped. So she knew everything from the very beginning? It turns out I'm pouring my heart out here, and she's just laughing at me? But why did you play along? Why all this if you knew my motives?" I stammered, still not believing what was happening. Susan smiled slyly, like the Cheshire Cat. Her eyes danced with laughter. "Oh, Jack, silly, didn't it occur to you that I myself wanted to give in to temptation? You really drive me crazy with your youth, your drive, your recklessness. It's impossible to resist someone like you." This confession made my head spin. Susan wanted me? From the very beginning? This is just a dream. Before I could come to my senses, she pulled me to her and kissed me passionately. Her fingers buried in my hair, her tongue insistently slipped into my mouth. I moaned, feeling the remnants of my self-control flying to hell. We started frantically tearing each other's clothes off, knocking over glasses and vases. Who cares? We'll clean up later. Now we only wanted one thing: to drown in hot embraces, to melt into each other, to taste the forbidden fruit. And damn it, it was the most mind-blowing night of my life. Susan turned out to be a passionate and insatiable lover, ready for any experiment. We made love until the morning, giving each other unearthly pleasure. And in the morning, exhausted and empty, we lay in each other's arms for a long time, afraid to disturb the magic of the moment. I gently stroked Susan's shapely shoulder, inhaling the scent of her hair. "What have we done, Jack?" she whispered, hiding her face on my chest. "How are we going to live with this now? Because we—" "Shh." I put a finger to her swollen lips. "Don't think about it now. We still have time to figure it all out and discuss it. And for now, let's just be happy with what we have." Susan was silent, thinking about something, and then suddenly smiled slyly. "You know, I have a better idea. Since we've gotten into this adventure, why not make the most of it?" I frowned in confusion, wondering what plan had hatched in my cunning lover's head. She was already reaching for the phone on the nightstand. "Now let's take a couple of hot shots and send them to your buddies. Let them know who they're dealing with." Susan winked at me, and I laughed, imagining the faces of the guys when they received this proof of my triumph. Definitely with Susan you won't get bored. Not everyone gets such adventures. The photo session was a great success. We indulged in poses and angles, conveying all the passion of our illicit affair. In one of the shots, Susan arched seductively on the rumpled sheets, covering her breasts with my shirt. A mind-blowing sight. "Well, shall we send it?" she asked playfully, flipping through the photos on her phone. "No way, I'd rather show it in person," I replied enthusiastically. "Let the losers be jealous." Susan and I exchanged glances and giggled like naughty schoolchildren. Definitely the best prank of my life. That same evening, I went to meet the guys at the bar. They were already sitting at our usual table, sipping beer and telling tales. At my appearance, the merriment abruptly subsided. Everyone stared at me with greedy curiosity. "Well, Casanova, how's it going? Couldn't charm old lady Susan?" Mike taunted, the initiator of that ill-fated bet. The others laughed, anticipating my fiasco. but I just sat down nonchalantly in my seat and took a big swig of beer. "See for yourselves," I said, pulling my phone out of my pocket. And I began to slowly flip through the photos where Susan and I indulged in debauchery. Admiring exclamations and whistles could be heard from the guys. "Holy shit! Jack, did you really do it?" Steve goggled, snatching the phone from me. "Yep, seduced and slept with her as ordered," I grinned, leaning back in my chair. "Dude, you're a beast!" Mike slapped me on the shoulder. "I knew I could count on you." The guys started congratulating me on my victory, demanding details, praising my manly strength and skill. I joked it off, making do with general phrases. After all, gentlemen don't talk about such things. I got home at dawn, slightly tipsy and very pleased with myself. The adventure was a complete success, with the bonus of an amazing night with a stunning woman. If it weren't for the photos, I would have thought I dreamed it all. For the next couple of days, Susan and I took a break, deciding to cool off and think about the situation. The crazy passion had subsided, leaving a slight embarrassment and awkwardness. Now we had to decide how to live on. "Jack, what happened between us? It was just a fleeting infatuation, right?" Susan finally broke the silence during our meeting. "I'm afraid it's much more than that," I sighed, looking into her eyes. "Susan, I think I'm seriously in love. And it's not just about sex. You're amazing, unlike anyone else. With you, I feel good, like with no one else." Susan smiled sadly, covering my hand with hers. The wedding ring on her ring finger sparkled, a reminder that we couldn't be together. "You're very dear to me too, Jack. But think about it yourself. It won't lead to anything good. You have a young wife. I have a settled life. We have no right to destroy all this for the sake of illusory happiness." Susan's words sobered me up, like a bucket of cold water on my head. She was right. Too much was at stake. My marriage to Kate, her friendly family, my reputation. Is it worth the trouble? "So what should we do?" I asked in a fallen voice, already knowing the answer. "Let's leave everything as it is. We'll keep our secret and move on with our lives. You as an exemplary husband and son-in-law, me as a loving mother and grandmother. And what was between us is just a happy memory." With those words, Susan pulled me to her and kissed me tenderly. There was so much sadness and hidden pain in that kiss that my heart ached. If only we had met earlier. That's what we decided. Ahead of us was an ordinary life with its joys and sorrows. But somewhere deep inside, this bright, searing feeling, born of one crazy night, now always lived. A feeling that can no longer be forgotten or canceled. Sometimes, when I met with the guys, I would catch their meaningful grins and taunts. But now it didn't hurt or anger me. After all, they only saw the tip of the iceberg. The true background of what happened will forever remain between me and Susan. A lot of time has passed since then. We learned to communicate casually, as if nothing had happened, to laugh, to joke, to discuss family matters. Only occasionally would I catch a long, piercing look from Susan that made me feel hot inside. At such moments, I felt especially acutely how much I had lost and how much I gained, albeit not in the traditional sense. Who knows, maybe someday in another life we can be together, without hiding, without concealing, without feeling guilty. Just love each other, enjoying every moment. But for now I have these memories, sinful and beautiful. To the point of sweet pain, to the point of dizziness real. Thank you, Susan. Thank you for everything. Did you like this story? Let us know in the comments what you liked. Subscribe to our storytelling podcast. Also, don't forget to like and ring the bell so you don't miss more interesting stories. See you soon.